Welcome back to the Purpose Over Profits podcast. Today's topic is going to be, what do you really want? That's going to be something that we're going to unpack over the next 15 to 20 minutes with you guys. But first, I want to just ask Jim, what's going on, man?
Yeah. So we got I got one of my favorite Christmas gifts ever back Christmas time. So we're a little ways from that now. But my girls, all three of them, have known that from a kid I always wanted to be a pilot. That was my dream job. Wasn't able to do that because of color blindness and some different things like that. And so for Christmas, they bought me the Discovery flight thing where you can go out to the airport and fly a plane with a flight instructor.
Wow.
So got to do that. It was a 30-minute flight. I got to fly the plane for like 25 minutes. Of that.
Oh, wow.
So the only thing I didn't do to take off, didn't do the landing, which was probably a good thing.
Probably great. That's why you're still
but
here.
But it was so stinking cool to drive this plane. I got to fly it over my house, do over the Gamecocks football stadium, all kinds of stuff like that. And it made me think about just kind of those different experiences that we have in life. And one of the things that was just really cool for me was we all want to feel seen and all that kind of stuff. And that gift was like perfect gift for me because like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I talk about it a good bit. And so they give me this printout with a picture of like, my daughters made this graphic of putting my head on a pilot thing and stuff like that. So it was just really, really cool to see. And what a great experience it was.
Awesome.
So
and to feel heard, like you feel man, you hear.
Yeah.
What I'm saying. I thought I saw that plane doing that double loop that one day when I was going to the parking garage.
I flew over your house and made sure to go as low as possible, just like try to wake your kids up and stuff.
I understand, I can't say I would have, funny enough, a good friend of both of ours, name's Dan Kadar, but he is a pilot.
Yeah.
And he has like a flight simulator in his office, and it's like legit.
Yeah.
Like it's good stuff. And I accidentally crashed into the Carolina Stadium. So it's probably best that I do not even have that experience. So man, but how awesome is that? Dude? I'm so happy you were able to check that off the list. Good job, family.
Now the scary thing with that is, so I posted on Facebook and Instagram about it. Now every ad that I have is like, you should buy this airplane. You should do those. I was like, man, all right. I got to get like 5 more clinics and maybe. But
I say that's a whole nother podcast about how social media knows our thoughts and dreams.
Yeah.
So, well, today's topic, what do you really want? Like we were talking a little bit before this, and man, what a broad topic, but I think you're going to help us laser in a little bit on that. And then I've got some cool practices that we can work on.
Yeah. So we could go a bunch of different ways with this topic. I think the number one thing that a lot of us struggle with being in an entrepreneurship journey and having our own things is being really clear about, what do we want out of our business? What are the things that drive us? And really, I mean, I know for me, earlier in my career, I didn't know. I knew I kind of had this global view of, I want to do this because I want to be the best physical therapist. I want to be the best clinic and be able to help all these different people. And all those things are great, but really being able to narrow it down to those deep core things, because that's what should drive us. But it's a pretty tough thing to narrow, to really get deep into those things.
It reminds me of, you hear conversations where someone's like, hey Jim, how you doing? You're like, oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, no, how you doing?
Yeah.
I guess I'm fine. You're like, no, dude.
Nah,
like seriously, how are you doing? And then it's like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, we have to be willing. I think that the book that I would recommend for this, the book that kind of helps me is actually 2 books, really. Extreme Ownership, number 1. But then 2 is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Because you kind of learning about the mind, learning how to ask questions that then create the answers you're actually looking for, because we have to be able to do that with ourselves as well. When you ask the first time, hey, how you doing? I'm okay. You didn't get anything from that. The second time but the third time you actually found something that you can work with, because we live in a world where we don't think anyone truly cares how we're feeling or what we want or this. So we so often find ourselves in every interaction not willing to, I don't want to give you my burdens. I don't want to, talk about it. So it's like, what I think we have to ask this, like, what do you really want? No. What do you really want? No. What do you really want?
Yeah.
And for me, the struggle has been with so many folks, and I'll ask you this first before I dive into it, but I have heard from so many people like Jeremy, like I hear you guys talk about it. It's like we talk about goals and these things all the time. It's this resonating thing, but it's like I've had so many people say, Jeremy, I sit down and try to create my core values or my vision statements, and I just get so confused or lost or
Yep.
go down all these rabbit holes. Would you say that you kind of felt the same way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really hard
Mm-hmm.
things to figure out. How do you, and especially how do you put those on paper?
Yeah.
Even if you have a decent idea in your mind, how do you put that out where it's going to be understood
Mm-hmm.
by others and have this thing? You know, we talked about in the last episode about, or a couple episodes ago, the power of writing
Mhm.
things out. How do you get that down in a way that's going to resonate with what you're thinking and really speaks to your core,
Yeah.
but to where people actually understand?
Yeah, because
Well,
it's
it's just-
also, do you understand? Because I'll tell you so often, I'm like, I want to put this, but I want to research it. I want to make sure,
Yeah.
is this the best way? Is this? And then we get so lost in our train of thoughts because when you're putting it down, like you're making it official.
Mhm.
I think that what people don't realize is that, you know, if I'm going to tell you 5 steps here really quick, number 6 is actually, you can revisit this.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, my core values today are not the same core values as when I started. Like and that doesn't mean that I was some selfish sinner then. It just, I've grown.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of all of this is to grow and to give it. If you ever stop growing, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
what's the point?
We're always going to evolve ourselves. Our companies are going to evolve too. So the core
Yeah.
values of my company are different now than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's where we are. And so they should. So never kind of have that thought of, oh, once I have these, this is
Mhm.
all like, you can tweak them as much as you need
Yeah.
to and want to,
That's
because you're
beautiful.
always going to be changing with that.
And it's just being okay with that. But you need to, and everything we talk about, you got to have something there that says this is what we are, because
Yeah.
it's going to make you question, like, are the decisions that I'm making actually standing behind?
Yes.
You should be able to
Yes.
take any hard decision, put it to your core values, and say, does it align with my mission? You know, and so
Yes.
here is a quick, rundown for you guys of just a few things that can help you. If you're one that says, Jeremy or Jim, I'm struggling with vision statement, I'm struggling with my core values. This is just a quick practice. I try to put it together what I would tell one of our coaching clients or something like that. So number 1, you need a pen, you need paper, or I would tell you, don't use your iPhone.
No.
Don't use your iPhone on this. Okay. Use a pen, paper, and truly give yourself 30 to 60 minutes of just quiet space. I'm going to ask you before you do that to pull a little Brendan Burchard and set intention. Take a few minutes, 5 breaths in, 5 breaths out, and then tell yourself, what am I trying to accomplish in this? So breath in, breath out. I want to accomplish on paper what my vision is, what my vision for this business, myself, my life, my family. I want to just put this out there, whatever it is that you're choosing to create your core values around, create an intention. So you're going to do those 3 things: pen, paper, give yourself that 30 to 60 minutes. You're going to reflect, take a time to reflect on your peak experience, like things in your life that have just really stood out to you. Recall moments of happiness, fulfillment, or pride. Like write those down, think about that, just kind of brainstorm it. Identify some of the themes. What got you there? Like, what about it? What about these 10 moments that came to your head? What stuck out to you so much in those? Was it the fact that someone had a servant heart? Was it the fact of community? Was it the fact of like just unconditional love? What was the fact of having pride in something? Or like, what are those things? Innovation, something that you did, accomplishment that you had. Narrow those down to 5 to 10 values that resonate deeply with you. Define those values. So when you take it to that 5 to 10, just draw a little line beside and just define what that means to you. And then I'm going to ask you to rank them. So once you rank those, I don't think that we need to have 10 core values.
No.
I think you're getting yourself, that's crazy. To me, I think, I don't think you need 1. I think you need a minimum of probably 3.
Yeah.
To me, maybe a max of 6. That's just my personal preference. But I think that if you can do that is just a simple practice. Is it the end all be all? No. But when you're telling me, Jeremy, I can't figure out how to get started, I have writer's block. I just think if you can go back and listen to that again, you do that, I truly believe it's going to help give you a starting point to determine what your core values truly are.
Yeah, I love that and agree wholeheartedly with that. I think so. As we get through those, you're starting to get things down. You're starting to formulate these things too. One thing to keep in mind is that you don't want these statements to just be just this statement of, okay, this is just how things are. You want it to be an action statement because that should point to specific behaviors with things. So one of our core values is no challenge, no change. That's going to inform all kinds of stuff we do as a company. So we're working with a patient. Did we challenge this person? Do we expect them to change because of it? If we're not doing that, hey, no challenge, no change. That's how we need to approach patient care.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get better as a PT. So only way we get better is to challenge yourself too. And so having those things be actionable, not just this kind of dusty old phrase that people don't really believe in. So we have another one, challenge the status quo. And so very, very passionate about is what I'm doing now. Is that challenging the status quo or I'm just going into that too? And so making sure we have those things that are, it's not there just as a statement of how we are. These are more things that are going to inform actions too.
That's great. And I'll share, you know, one of ours that really stands out to me is be memorable.
Yeah.
That is because of when it comes to our website, Choose Pie. You know what I mean? Like it's fun, it's memorable, it's different than status quo. When it comes to the fact that we make a video for every quote, when it comes to the fact that you can have all your information to us in under a minute, when it comes to the fact that our sales team hands it off to our service team, and the way that we do everything within our agency, we're that way, but also to our clients, we're that way. This isn't something that we're just showing to other people, but inside we're not that. Like that is genuinely who we want to be. And we like Billy Wagner, it's just someone I respect a ton in my industry. He's been on the podcast, but even he, you know, even the simple name of something, we have processes or are we designing outcomes? I'm telling you, that's what I always go back to is just the wording of something can be creative. It can be memorable. Even in that simplest of things. So are we willing to go back and peel back the layers of this onion to say, are we truly doing this inside of our agency? And is it exuding from just our being of who we are?
Yeah. And I think that really goes back to, so title of this episode is what do you want? And so it's a hard exercise to do, to really dive down into what are the big things that you want. And, what are those core things? So whether it's the core values or just your core desires for where you want your company to be, who you want to be as a leader, how do you want your staff members to perceive how the company is, all those kind of things. You got to be clear. You really got to dive deep to be clear on those things.
Sure.
Because if you don't have clarity with that, your staff aren't going to have clarity with that too.
100%. I mean, you know, the truth is like some people are okay with mediocrity. You know, the struggle to me is if you're listening to this podcast, a part of me believes you want better.
I would hope so. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like you're not going to go out and try to find content. And so I'm not speaking to a lot of people that are probably listening to this right now, but the truth is like, when we say, what do you really want? Like some people just have to be honest with themselves as they don't want to be the best. They don't want to, you know, like a podcast that we just talked about, like, are you too nice? You know, some people don't want to challenge because they don't want to have to get dirty. You know, and once again, there's no problem with that, but you can't say, I'm willing to charge hell with a water pistol and I don't care if there's any water in it if you're literally not willing to do that. You know what I mean? Like, be honest with yourself. Because you're never going to meet your expectations if you literally are unwilling. You're never going to meet anyone's or accept anyone's if you're not willing to be honest with yourself. If you can be honest with anyone, at least let it be with you in your head.
And don't you know, whenever you're doing things that don't align with who you are, in your core, it doesn't feel right.
100%.
Even if it's supposed to be fun or you're supposed to be enjoying it. Maybe you are enjoying it some, but it just doesn't. There's something just slightly off with it. I was having a conversation with a friend about a month ago, and we were talking about some of those things. And I was like, well, they were unhappy about certain things in their life and different things like that. I was like, well, are the things that you're doing, are they really aligned with like who you are as a person? And a lot of that is you need to figure out what that is for yourself too. And we are who we are. You know,
Yeah.
of course, we're going to change and evolve over time, but our base of who we are, you need to be doing things that are in line
Yeah.
with that, whether it's from a business leader standpoint or a personal standpoint. If you don't, that's a recipe for going the wrong direction.
And I'm telling you, I see in so many interactions where I have with whether it's inner industry or even friends that are trying to spread things, or even when it's coaching class, like where they'll say something, but then everything we talk about does not at
it doesn't line.
all. And honestly, sometimes I will say to them like, is that truly? Like, are you just saying that because that's what you're supposed to say? And I think that's where you listener here, just like us, we have to have that conversation. Crazy enough, apparently, some people don't have inner dialogue, and that is the most confusing thing ever, because I'm like, you think what you guys experience right here, there's 18 times that going on up here. But you have to be willing to have that inner dialogue with yourself if you can. I'm sorry if you can't, but just like, what do I really want? Nobody can hear me in here. Like, what do I really want? And like, is it okay that that's what I want?
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
I have no want to have the $3.7 million, yacht and the house and the mansion, this, that, and that. Someone else might.
Yeah.
Dude, no problem with
That's
that.
okay.
That's not, I am totally fine with that not being my end all vision. That's not where it goes to. But that doesn't mean that I'm any less than the next guy.
Yeah.
We have, I know what my wants and my things are. And so that's what I think when it's getting back to, it's like, I think that we can almost add to the title, what do you really want? And are you okay with that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, add that little in there. Cause I think that's the problem, is where like, Jim, like, if I could be honest, like, is it cool if I'm okay with?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, that's
absolutely.
what I'm
Yeah. No. And I think that resonates so much, because I think as entrepreneurs, as leaders, all that stuff, we are constantly bombarded with these messages of, oh, this is how you should be. This is what you should want. This is where your business should go. The only one who really knows where that should go is you. And, but we get all these messages all the time of, this should be the standard. Oh, you should strive for this. Gosh, I've talked to other PT owners. They're like, I want to grow and I want to expand and I want to get 4 or 5 clinics. And then when you talk to them further, I was like, do you really want that? Like, you don't really seem like you enjoy what you're doing now. And they're like, you know what? No, I don't. I'm just doing this because I thought that was what I was supposed to want to do. And so it's all, you got to be real with yourself.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. You're not going to be happy.
Dude,
if
I'm
you're
telling
not.
you, like, man, like I've personally experienced that, because it's that keeping up with the Joneses, as much as the materialism is real. Like, I would see business part that, like it's so funny in the insurance industry, there's always like a theme of the year. And so like 2 years ago, it was neon signs. Everyone was getting a neon sign for that. And it's like all of a sudden one of the bigger names got it. And then the next guy, oh, my neons, you know what I mean? And it's like, and it's just so funny to watch this domino effect, or, then this year, it'll be this other thing, or it's like, oh, because these people, it's FOMO. It's, it's like, oh, I got to keep up with the Joneses and all these different things. It's like, do you really want a freaking neon sign?
Yeah.
Or are you just doing it because you need to have it in your backdrop because you want your other 7 friends to see that you're part of the cool kids club?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
In a world, social media is a beautiful thing, but it also is such a devil.
Yeah.
And I just think that, man, this question is, like we said, it's so deep.
Yeah.
And I just think that, guys, it's okay to want what you want, as long as you're happy with what you want. Like, that's really the sum it up. And so diving into a few other areas where you kind of have to think about this. Work-life balance, obviously, which there's no necessary such thing of, but you've also got financial freedom and independence. You've got, like, when it comes to networking, I'm this extroverted networking person. That doesn't mean that someone has to want that just because it works for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to be careful, because we have to grow.
Yeah.
We have to be willing. We have to have a mindset. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to expand, but also, like, I don't need to have these expectations that just aren't real to myself.
Well, I think me and you are a great example, because you can go into a room and be best friends with 50 people in 5 minutes.
There's only 40 people in the room.
And so I'm perfectly fine talking to somebody, but I'd much rather have a deeper conversation.
Sure.
And, but I'm not going to be the one that just goes up to everybody and introduces myself and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I used to not be. I was like, man, I really need to be that person. And, but it's not true to me.
Yeah.
and how you are and how I would be, you shouldn't try to emulate that
Yeah.
for those pursuits. So of
Yeah.
course we always want to grow and get better. And we talked about me moving from public speaking and
Yeah.
getting better at all those kind of things. And so we always want to challenge ourselves.
Yeah.
But ultimately we need to be okay with who we are.
That's right.
With those things too.
And on a side note, and this could be a whole nother podcast episode, you just said, like, I'm willing to walk into a room and talk to 50 people. I want to tell you something crazy. I have started working from home 3 days a week, probably. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how,
Yeah.
but like if you are someone that works from home, it is a plague. I'm not trying to be mean, but like I have found myself becoming more introverted, wanting to go out less,
Yeah.
wanting to be involved less, and it's almost like it's scary.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's this pandemic, whatever the word you would say.
Mhm.
I think it's something that we're not talking about, that even my teams that do work from home talk about how they sometimes are going through this thing of the lack of community, the lack of
Yeah.
interaction, the lack of this. And so I would just say as man, like, it resonated me with when you said that, because I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
some days I don't feel like that. Like that's who I am.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like just the environment that I'm putting myself into
Yeah.
is literally sucking that out of me from times. And
Yeah.
man, that's terrifying. But I'm
It's-
not scared to talk about it. Like,
it's-
and be
It is
honest about
scary.
it.
So as human beings, we're wired to have social connection, and when we don't have that, that affects neurochemistry and all those things. And so
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. We're definitely getting on a tangent.
Yeah.
With this,
Definitely. So I'm just thinking it's such a, what you really want, it's like, cause I thought I really wanted to work from home a little bit more, but
Yeah,
now I'm like,
that's-
man, like, is that really what I want? But there's a moment where you made a decision, then you realize
Yep.
maybe that's not what I want.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You
and
can always
you have
yeah,
to be okay with it.
I know you like to talk about a pivot,
Yeah.
and so always pivot.
That's right.
Those
Always
things-
pivot.
yeah.
So, I think that once again, it's the last thing on my thing is because we talk about we have financial freedom, all these other things that come into it. But at the very end, it's reflection and adaptation.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you have to be able to reflect, you have to be willing to adapt.
Yeah.
But also making sure that your adaptation. Sometimes you have to even adapt for a season because you chose to not be nice, you chose to have clarity,
Mhm.
you chose to do what needed to happen. Now you got to step into a little bit more of a role that
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
didn't expect. Like, you got to be willing to adapt, but not allow that to define you.
Yeah.
And so ultimately that is, what do you really want?
Yep.
At the end
Yeah.
of it.
Man, we talked about a lot of
Yeah.
stuff with this. So hopefully y'all got something out of that.
That's right.
We kind of went on all kinds
Sometimes
of
we
different
need
things.
to.
Yeah.
You
Just gotta get it out.
We resonated
Yes,
with somebody.
but but ultimately I think we were both in alignment with the core of who we are,
Yeah.
with what we were talking about too, which I think that's what we would hope for all of y'all
Mhm.
out there, to be able to recognize what that is.
That's right.
And lean into it.
That's purpose
Yeah.
over profits, baby. Boom. Like that.